In the end, the spy became the spied upon.
In his later years, Hemingway became convinced that the FBI was spying on him, and he believed that they followed him everywhere. A major thing informing this seemingly paranoid belief was his history with the Soviets, as he felt he had more than a few communist skeletons in his closet. Eventually, Hemingway killed himself, and his suicide was largely attributed to his fear of the FBI. Long after his death, Edgar Hoover had, indeed, ordered a long-term surveillance of Hemingway, including watching him and tapping his phones. Hoover was interested in Hemingway due to his time living in Cuba. Perhaps the paranoia that ended up taking Hemingway's life was ultimately justified after all.
Then the Red Scare took over America, and Hemingway became afraid of how his actions might be interpreted.
When the era of McCarthyism in America began following World War II, a witch hunt for communists was on. As an actual Soviet secret agent, Hemingway was obviously worried about his extracurricular activities coming to light. In private letters to a friend who happened to be a U.S. Army officer, Hemingway expressed fear about being dragged in front of a committee and being forced to explain his time as a spy. He never admitted to betraying his country, but he understood the implications, as individuals had been jailed or blacklisted for far less.
Hemingway was actually the worst spy ever, though.
Despite the personal consequences that would come as a result of Hemingway's work for the Soviets, he can only be described as a useless intelligence asset. His file in the KGB records indicated that he had failed to produce any political information. It went on to describe how Hemingway was never verified in practical work. In other words, Hemingway was a bad spy, and the Soviets learned nothing from him.
Hemingway got involved in American Spycraft, too.
Of course, Ernest Hemingway didn't limit his intelligence operations to cooperation with the Soviets. When World War II broke out, Hemingway approached the Office of Strategic Services, a predecessor of the CIA, and offered his services. One of Hemingway's American missions involved tracking U-boats with his fishing vessel, Pillar, in the Caribbean. Interestingly, Hemingway also came up with an idea to use GI players to defend his boat, figuring that the players could throw grenades into the conning tower of German submarines.
Thought it may seem traitorous. It wasn't so when Hemingway teamed up with the KGB.
The initial reaction to learning of Ernest Hemingway's time working for the top Soviet spy organization is to assume it was a traitorous act, given the history of the Cold War. However, it doesn't necessarily need to be interpreted that way. After all, the USSR and the Americans were allies during the 40s, when all of Hemingway's missions occurred. The two superpowers were united in their fight to crush fascism in Europe, and Hemingway may have felt no compunction for working for the Soviets. However, he would eventually come to realize how the arrangement must have looked.
Hemingway had some pretty cute spy tactics that he suggested to the KGB.
The KGB and its preceding organization were masters of spycraft, famous for their sleeper agents and mysterious assassinations. However, Ernest Hemingway thought nothing of bringing them some home-brewed spy tactics of his own. When he was first recruited, Hemingway presented the Soviets with a set of stamps instructing Jacob Golos to give the stamps to anyone else who would be meeting with Hemingway as a means of authentication. Truly a foolproof plan.
He had clandestine meetings in exotic locations around the world, very spy chic.
He had clandestine meetings in exotic locations around the world, very spy chic.
Hemingway was OG Antifa, which is why he worked for the KGB.
Hemingway was OG Antifa, which is why he worked for the KGB. He repeatedly expressed his desire and willingness to help the Soviets.
He had a code name and everything, it was Argo.
He had a codename and everything, it was Argo.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the support and likes and comments down below, and also thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Then take care, bye.